Începem următorul interviu. E Vitaly Friedman alături de mine. Tocmai a avut un speech. You just gave us a speech on the stage.
Yes.
How was the crowd?
Well, very good, actually. I really like coming back. I mean, it's been incredible to come back to Romania after, 3 years? Seems like 27 years to me.
No, for me it seems like yesterday.
Yeah, so no, for me it seems like it was a long time ago. But it's wonderful to be back.
Maybe you are just so familiar for me because I have your books.
Oh, you have the books?
Yeah, I have the books.
That's very kind of you. We have some books, yes.
What happened in your life in the last 3 years?
Everything changed. And one important thing that changed everything for me is that I got a printer. And I'm not joking.
You are going to?
I got a printer.
Oh, okay.
So it's just like, what? What is going on? So because I've been traveling non-stop for the last, before COVID, of course, for the last like 15, 16 years or so. And then all of a sudden stop. And then I had to reconsider my life choices in many ways. So I think that it's now in a position
I hope
where...
you are not quite quitting yourself.
No, not at all. But I think at some point, I never had a printer. And then we now spend a lot of time around Germany. And so I got a printer. And once you have a printer,
Everything.
you can't really, it's not portable anymore. It's like it's something that is an anchor that pulls you home. So that's it.
Sum up for me and for our viewers your speech.
Yeah, I think some things that I tried to show or highlight are, I would say there are many frustrating things on the web, and I think in many ways we just tend
Web is frustrating.
Yeah, frustrating. Like the entire life is frustrating at this
Exactly.
point. But if you think about the models that show up all of a sudden, the hover menus that just show up all of a sudden, and mega drop downs, buttons that are disabled and that you cannot click, and you try to click and understand why they're not working, carousels that automatically rotate, and so many. Cookie pop up. Like where to stop? I don't know where to stop. Infinite scroll. You scroll.
Everyone
and now
wants
I get
your
the footer,
attention.
right? And so I think there are many interesting solutions that have been showing up over the last couple of years to address all of these issues. And so my goal really, or not my goal, but my personal mission, I would say, was to try to find something that to eliminate this frustration. Right? That's at least I could do. And in many
Have
of
you
those...
found it?
Yes, I think I did. So there are some things that I was very happy to be able to test. So the last 2 years I started working on, I was working on some really, really complex projects. One of them is working with the European Parliament, where you have a very complex navigation at the moment.
CSDMI somehow?
CSDMI? No,
let it-
doesn't matter. But it's just challenged in many ways my views on how I thought design was. And so, I can talk to users to see like how do people deal with one particular component or the other, what works better, what not. And so many of the things that I highlighted are coming from the user research that I or my colleagues have done. So really trying to resolve some of these big issues that we keep seeing all over the time.
I was talking before with Luke Carty about friction, and we would want a frictionless world. Is it possible? You are an user experience expert.
Yeah, I think there are two sides of it. On the one hand, I think friction is bad. There is a bad friction and a good friction. I think the bad friction is when things just are slow. That's not helping. Like the worst example of that,
The traffic.
that's traffic being one of them. But the other one is, for example, whenever you have filters, and every time you click on one of the filters, the entire interface freezes and it comes back to life maybe in 5 seconds, and you have to continue then. That's a bad kind of friction. That's not very helpful. So we have to be better at this. And one way of doing that would be to decouple the filters from the search results. So whenever you click on any of the filters, the results show up in like asynchronously, right? That's the separate conversation. So, but that would be a bad kind of thing. But on the other hand, you have good friction, which should be, I think, very valuable when you want to connect with your customers. Because very often we think about everything has to be sterile almost, very clean, very familiar, very conventional. And that becomes an issue because many websites then look exactly the same. And so you end up with a situation where one e-commerce site is exactly like the other e-commerce site. It's just you change the banner on the top from blue to red, and that's it. And so this makes it very difficult for people to establish a connection. So the way to establish a connection is through authenticity, when you have to either stand for something, so show your values, or you have to have a personality on the site. This personality I don't mean like gimmicks. I don't know, like a barking dog or anything like that. But it could be a particular way of how you're phrasing certain things and how you choose your voice and tone when you speak to customers, how you label things, and just good usability is a part of it.
When a customer can jump an error message or I don't know, a frustration my platform is gonna give to him.
I think the first things that I do when it actually comes to improving UX is actually looking very deep into error messages, because I think we don't even know sometimes just how valuable they are and how expensive wrong error messages or bad error messages are. And so actually,
Can
really
you give them a value?
value. What do you mean?
For you said that's expensive.
Yeah,
An
so
error message
it
can be
really depends,
expensive.
because you really need to think about what are some of the typical error messages that appear. How often do they appear? When they do appear, how often do people recover from them? And not only how often, but how quickly do people recover from them? And then out of that, you can create some business value. The point is, however, is that very often most companies don't even measure it or don't even think about it. But if it's a generic error message and people are just blocked and they don't know how to proceed, this will end up in a lower conversion, right? This is if people don't know how to proceed. The typical example that would be really, really, really important is whenever you go, you will find that in testing there is probably 70 to 80% of people who have the same issue, namely, whenever you have to type in your shipping address, you start typing your shipping address, and then the interface tells you, no, your shipping address is wrong. But you know it's right. You've been living there for 5
It
years.
just happened.
Yes, it's like 70 to 80% of people have this problem. But if you are shipping an item to yourself, how can you buy if you can't ship to yourself, right? I mean, you can ship to somebody else, right? That's of course an option, but some people will not do that. So you have to be really, really careful about those things and actually allow people to overwrite, for example, and say, well, this seems like this is the wrong address. Are you sure it's the right one? So let people confirm that this is the right one. And then you need to measure again. How many wrong addresses do we get in our database as a result? And we ship something somewhere and never reaches the destination, right? And how many people we pick up who were left off previously? And so this is just one of the examples of where error messages can be very, very helpful there.
Half of my life, it's a professional one, spent in digital marketing and communication. Yesterday, something stupid happened to me for the first time. The provider told me that the address is not a personal one and I should provide him a personal one. And I was like, what? It's my email address.
Yeah, I think it's often a matter of assumptions. We should never assume anything. I mean, there are so many things that are edge cases. I mean, every time when somebody says reliable or bulletproof, I'm always double kind of questioning, because I think that at this point it's impossible. I mean, we live in a very complex world, but also our interfaces and our systems are very complicated. And so you can't just be reliable in anything in life anymore. I think that especially when it comes to users, and people are very creative in doing very creatively things on websites and applications and anything. So if you do simple things like, I don't know, block people from copy pasting their email address or anything like that, people will try everything. They will waste a lot of time trying to get it done in one way or the other. People are very, very good at bending the rules.
Yeah, about that, I would do everything just not to type.
For example, yes. Another thing that's also very typical is that if you come to the site and then you have advertising on it and you show this message saying turn off your ad blocker, people will find creative ways. Either they will open incognito mode, or they will go ahead and open a new browser, and separate browser. They sometimes have a separate browser for those kind of things, just not to confirm, just not to give in,
Or just leave,
or just leave.
because there are options.
There are many options out there. Yeah. So you cannot twist people into doing what you like. It's really more, I think, in many ways about the right timing. So when you think about newsletter pop-up showing up, we don't want to just get random email addresses, right? So do people just want to pass the gates? We want good email addresses. And so we need to think about what is the right timing to ask somebody a question and get a good answer for them. Not an answer, a good answer. And a way to do that would be to say, well, maybe let's delay showing a newsletter pop-up a little bit and see what happens, and just measure. It's all a matter of measurements as well.
Can we sum up our discussion by saying use the common sense?
Yeah, I think there are many different interpretations of what common sense is. So I
Okay.
think it depends on the role that you have as well. But I would say,
If you don't like it, don't do it to other one.
yes, I think it's just all about just just bring away all the assumptions. If somebody in the meeting says, "Well, I think the user will," or we know that users do, well, always look up for data, because it's almost impossible to say with a high probability that this something is going to happen. It's most likely that people are doing very, very different things. They bend the system in any way that they prefer. They would try to do whatever they want, really, on the side. So there is no generic usual anymore, I think, at this point. Everything is really messy and fuzzy and blurry. And so question everything. Everything.
Yeah, like a journalist.
Like a journalist, that's a good idea. Yeah, I think so.
Thank you very much for your answers. Thank you for being here at GPeC. Enjoy your stay.